Hello, fifth graders. Welcome back to another The Math Show with Miss Condry. Before we get started here, quick couple of reminders. This might get old after a while, but I'm still going to remind you because I think it's important. We have some at-home classroom norms. Okay, remember, have a positive attitude. Some of this is going to feel hard, and part of that is because it is hard, and part of it is because you're not at school where you normally do this learning. Please remember to be respectful, both to yourself as you're working through hard and challenging things, and also to your families and the people who are trying to support you right now. Remember to keep trying, even when it's hard. If something's not working, try something different. Take a break when you need to. Those are all really important things. Also remember the word yet. If something is hard for you, remember to say things like, it's too hard right now because I don't know it yet, or I don't understand it very well yet. That's a really important thing to be keeping in mind, especially as we work through some of the harder things. Remember that you're all on your own little learning journey, and everybody learns in different ways. And so you might be picking something up really quickly. That doesn't mean it's easy. It just means that you've had enough experiences to help you understand what's happening right now. And those of you who are picking it up maybe a little bit slower, remember that that's just because you need more experiences, not because you're not smart. It's just that you don't know it yet. So be patient and be kind to yourself as you're learning. Today, we are going to talk about a couple things that are found on page 117 and 118 of your first learning packet. They are called box puzzles. Box puzzles are kind of fun. I hope you have fun with them. They're meant to be kind of a fun little brain challenge. Some of them are easier than others, and some of them are more challenging. So today what I'm going to really focus on is helping you to think about our learning target with the box challenges, which is to understand the relationship between multiplication and division. If you understand multiplication, then you can use that to solve division. So, box puzzles. There are these funny little things that look like this. Basically, what you're doing with the box puzzles, and what I'm going to focus more on today is the multiplication division part of it, but these two numbers here can be multiplied together to make the top number, the product, or they can be added together to make the sum down here. So you can see that 4 times 3 is 12, so the product goes in the top of the box. We always know the top number is the product of these two numbers. And we always know the bottom number, 7, is the sum of these two numbers. 4 plus 3 is 7. All right. So we're going to work through just a couple examples. This won't take too long. On the first page that these show up, you'll notice that most of them are math facts, so they're a little bit more simple. And so I'm going to focus on a more challenging one that is found on the second page. So I believe, what page did I say that was on? 118. Okay, so on page 118, there is a box puzzle that looks like this. 400 is in the top, and if you remember from just before, 400 is the product of 16 and something else. So when you go about solving this problem, it's important to start with what you know, and then I like to try chunking it out. That's kind of a funny way to say it, but you could use lots of strategies for chunking it out. You could skip count, you could use a ratio table if you're comfortable with those, and there's going to be another video that talks a little bit more about ratio tables and how to use those, especially because that's new for a lot of families. It's new for me still. So I'm going to model for you what I do when I'm thinking through this puzzle, and then you'll have one completed on that page. I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, I'll have to write sideways. I need a marker. Okay. So the first thing is to start with what you know. Well, I know 400 is the product of 16 and something else. So that means that I know that I could do 16 times this number, which I don't know right now. So I'm just going to put a little box there. You can also substitute it with a letter. That's fine. You can say 16 times n equals 400. Now, not to scare anybody, but when we're thinking about multiplication like this, what that means is that when we've got that missing factor, it means that we're actually thinking about division. So we could also rewrite this as 400 divided by 16 equals n, or a box. Okay. I'm putting the box there because I think it's a little bit more accessible for everybody. Later on, though, throughout the videos, I'm going to start substituting the box with letters so that everybody can start transitioning towards that, because that's what mathematicians usually do. All right, so now that I've done this, I can start chunking it out. Now, I personally always like to multiply rather than divide. Dividing feels sometimes like going backwards, and multiplying feels like going forwards, and I'm more comfortable going forwards than I am going backwards. So I'm going to try chunking it out using what I know about multiplication. And I gave you a little hint here to use friendly numbers. So since I know I'm trying to do 16 times something to get close to 400, I'm going to try something friendly. And I know my tens really well because I know when I multiply by a 10 or a power of 10, everything, if you're picturing our decimal wall or our place value wall in our classroom, everything is going to shift over. Okay, that's what happens when we multiply by a 10. So if I do 16 times 10, and I put a 10 in that box, then that's going to mean that the 16 shifts over a place value, and the 1 is now in the hundreds, the 6 is in the tens, and a 0 goes to the ones place. Okay, your parents might know this trick is put a 0 on the end. So 16 times 10 is 160. You can see I'm actually kind of far from my goal, which is 400. So maybe I should try something a little bit bigger, but I don't want to use a number that's unfriendly. So I would rather do something like 16 times, let's say 20. Now I know that 20 is double 10. And we know from lots of experiences we've had in both 4th and 5th grade that when we double one factor, the product also doubles. So now instead of 10 groups of 16, I have 20 groups, which means if I were to double 160, I would have 320. And now that's looking closer to 400. In fact, I know that I just need 80 more. So I'm going to let you look at that for a second. See if we've done anything that might help us find 80. Parents, if you're watching this with your kid, this would be a good time to pause and just take a peek at the two equations I've written down. I've written down 16 times 10 is 160, 16 times 20 is 320. Is there somewhere where we can use what I've already done to find the 80? Okay. Maybe some of you noticed that 80 is half of 160. That's a really nice place to start because I would like to get 80 exactly. So I still have to multiply it by 16, but if I multiplied by 10, that would be too much. And since this is double what I need, I can just find half of this 10 groups. Half of 10 groups is 5 groups. And now I can start looking for some patterns here. You need another color. I'll use red. So we needed to figure out 16 times something to get to 400. And I see that if I added the 320 plus 80, that would equal my 400 groups, or 400 total. Which means that I multiplied 16 by the factors 20 and 5, which is 25. So now I know that 25 is the missing factor here. So I can write 25 there. 16 times 25 equals 400. 16 plus 25 if you were to figure that out, that would be 41, right? 30, 41. And now you've completed a puzzle box. I hope this is helpful. If you have questions, remember you can always ask me during our Zoom meetings at 11 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or you can email me. I'm always happy to help. So hopefully this is helpful. Watch the video again if it didn't make sense to you the first time. Bye.